We want to thank our sponsor, Dark Kryptonite. Dark Kryptonite stops ransomware, malware, and phishing in their tracks, eliminating cybercrime, fraud, and information warfare. Dark Kryptonite utilizes advanced blockchain algorithms and zero trust models. Learn more at www.darkkryptonite.com. Welcome to the GCA, Global Cybersecurity Association, spotlighting women in cyber. I'm your host today, Scott Schober, and I have a special guest. It's Martin Tang. He's the chairman of Global Cybersecurity Association and the principal of MT Associates, a risk management and insurance consultancy for large corporates. Welcome to the show, Martin.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott.
Yeah, I had a couple questions. I'm really curious with this special Women's Day in Cyber, and maybe for the first thought you could share with us from GCA's perspective. Tell us a little bit more how Women in Cyber fits into that, and a little bit more about GCA.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate everyone on a happy 8th of March. I'd like to congratulate all the women already in cyber, and also all women planning to enter cyber. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Martin Tang, and the mission at GCA is to promote a global approach in cybersecurity, and we believe the only approach to go is a global approach, because you need to touch all the bases around the world, because you never know when your next cyber attack is going to emanate from. But today, I want to talk about the International Women's Day, and on behalf of the whole team at GCA, I really want to celebrate this day with you. I want to celebrate and congratulate all you women who've chosen cyber as a career path. You add so much diversity of thought to cybersecurity, and by doing this, you really do help to make the world a much more cyber secure place. Global Cybersecurity Association, we're very convinced of this, because if you look at our board on our website, we're 7 members, and 3 are men and 4 are women. So the statistics are kind of skewed the other way around, which is quite different. And what we find is we find that this makes for very, very easy board meetings, because we find that the large number of women on the board really helps to make things flow. They've got very high social competence, and we've been very blessed as well to have some of the leading tech and cybersecurity thought leaders on our board, like Helen Yu, who's one of the top 50 tech leaders, and Tyler Cohen-Wood, who's probably one of the leading people in the world in the area of cybersecurity. Tyler worked at the DoD for over 20 years, and played such a strong role in protecting the security of the United States for so many years. So we're just very excited to have such a strong board, strengthened, of course, by the large number of women we have on our board.
Excellent. I'm curious your thoughts on this. Maybe you could expound on this a little bit. How can we encourage more women to pursue careers in cybersecurity? There's obviously a lot of women in our audience that are watching and listening to this. So what are your thoughts, Martin? How can we encourage more women to pursue careers in cybersecurity?
Well, I think in the first place, we need to increase the awareness within the female world of that this really is a very, very good option for women. I think traditionally over the past, IT and cybersecurity has been very much dominated by men, and it wasn't really a chosen profession. And if you looked at the way the education was put together and created, it seemed to be very man-orientated. And I think if we can change that, if we can change it at the education level, if we can change it at the awareness level, and I think if we can change also recruiting strategies within companies, that they adjust the recruiting strategies to attract more women on board, I think we can do a lot to encourage women to pursue these careers in cybersecurity. Another thing I think is if we could more highlight the very special contribution that women can bring to the table in the area of cybersecurity. Many people talk about girl power, and I'm actually very much against that.
Well, wait a second. Hold on, Martin. You're against girl power? This whole thing is talking about all the great contributions women are doing internationally in the field of cyber. You got to explain this, or this interview's over.
Yes, well, well, yes. You see, I don't think we should think of it so much as girl power, but girl high competence, because girls have so much high social competence, and this is really super required in terms of remedying a breach to your cybersecurity. So if you have a significant event where your cybersecurity is breached, all the different departments of the company need to come together and need to work in a team effectively together to be able to remedy that breach as soon as possible. If you have a preponderance of men involved in remedying the breach, you can lead to personality conflicts. You need people who can interface very smoothly and very fluidly, and women are really great at this. And this is why I really do believe that women's high social competence has a really strong role to play in effective cybersecurity.
Okay.
So it's not so much having a statutory percentage so much as saying, hey, this skill set, this high social competence can really add tremendous value to the equation. And we've noticed that here at our board meetings at Global Cybersecurity Association.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a good save there, Martin, because otherwise you'd have four women ready to give you a black eye. Was well said when you clarified that statement there. Thank you.
Yes, could have been a very precarious next board meeting.
That's for sure. Hey, you know what? While we're on that, can you maybe tell us a little bit, what are some of the specific benefits do women bring to the field of cybersecurity? You touched on it in a broad area. Are there any really specific things? I like your point about from a social standpoint. I think women from a social standpoint usually have a lot more advantages than men, certainly. Is there anything else that maybe stands out in your mind?
I think the diversity of thought is always critical to any solution-orientated process. And women bring a diversity of thought that is very special, because they have a different lens to problem solution. They have a different lens to teamwork. They have a different way of looking at things. And typically, although we don't always admit it as men, typically it's more all-embracing. Men tend to be a bit more black and white, and women tend to have a much broader, all-embracing view, which always adds a lot to which really does enhance the whole process of resolving hacking attacks.
Yeah. Well said. That really makes sense. As you were talking, I started thinking about it. I've never seen a statistic on this, but I'd be very curious if any of our listeners know this. Feel free to shoot it out to Martin or myself. What percentage of cyber criminals and hackers are women versus men? I think that would be a very telling if we learned that a little bit. And why do I say that? Because I think women, as you mentioned, they almost have that ability to think outside the box sometimes, which would be very helpful in trying to beat cyber criminals and hackers. And if the larger percentage of it is men, that may actually greatly help this war against these cyber criminals to think outside the box and find ways to catch these criminals before they do so much damage. And it'd be an interesting stat. I'm going to do a little more research on that, but it just popped into my head. And that may be something that we as a community, the good guys, could really use to our advantage.
That's a great point, Scott, because I watched a video once of a woman hacker talking to a hackee, and she was just absolutely convincing. She cold called the guy, and she was so absolutely convincing. He was telling her everything within, within a minute or two. It was absolutely amazing how she did it, and I think that's very true, because I think hackers will use women because they reach people so much easier than men do, and I think that will be a super thing to follow up on. I'm going to do some research on that too.
Okay, myself too. Yeah, and we welcome our audience. Give us some feedback there. Well, hey, I want to really thank you, Martin, for a great segment here. Thanks for joining on this special segment spotlighting women in cyber on Global Cybersecurity Association. We really appreciate your insight, some brilliant points you made, and let's all do our best to celebrate this special day that's coming up, and celebrate all the great achievements women are doing in cyber around the globe.
I couldn't support your comments more, Scott, and I want to thank you personally, for inviting us to speak on this show. And I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dark Kryptonite. It's a really excellent operation, and thanks to them, and thanks to you, Scott.
You got it. Thanks again, Martin. Appreciate it.